Welcome back, everyone. Right now, we're going to enter in our first workshop of the day, sponsored by Ricoh, and it's about bridging the gap. It's a digital first approach to redefining your small business processes. If you can insert technology in your processes, chances are you're going to generate many more efficiencies. Today, we are joined by two members of the Ricoh's team. The first is Ryan Beckwith. He's the national manager for pre-sales engineering. He's been with them for approximately 15 years, and he's overseen some of the largest implementations of Ricoh's customer base. And Duke will be with us as well. I love the name Duke. Fantastic. Congratulate your parents for naming you with an awesome name. He has more than 25 years of experience in process analysis and improvement. I did mention that this session is brought to us by Ricoh. Let's hear a few thoughts from them now.
For today's workshop, we'll be looking at the fundamentals of process automation and the different types of solutions that are available. We'll look at how to move from paper-based to digital processes, and we'll see some examples of this process automation. Okay, as a starter, let's look at the evolution of a business venture. So here we are. We're thinking of starting a business venture or thinking of starting to launch a product or service. So we all know the ingredients of success, right? We get to market first, quick turnover of inventory, stay ahead of competition. So we have this in mind as we're thinking of launching this new business venture of ours, right? But in many instances, launching a business venture means getting the product or service out the door as quickly as possible with minimal process steps. Okay, that just do it approach, right? This is true for all businesses, regardless of size. So whether you're a small business, you're a medium-sized business, or even you're a large corporation, when you're trying to launch something, say, let's just get it out the door and we'll fix everything as we go along, right? And we see this in all industries, including, let's say, software, right? So you're all familiar with, you're probably familiar with what Microsoft calls Update Tuesday. Right, so they launch a product, and then Microsoft every Tuesday they'll update their software. So the process comes after, right? Now, although this process is effective at the start of the business venture, it is not sustainable for long-term growth, right? The business may collapse in on itself if the process that sustain it do not keep up with the demands and the changes of the market. So oftentimes, the business process created by this just do it approach are manual, paper-based, and highly dependent on the knowledge and experience of individuals. So these processes tend to be focused on individuals, right? And we all know this. We probably have experienced this, right? We have individuals probably in our organization that know the ins and out of processes within our organization, right? And when we see that these individuals are retiring, they take the knowledge with them, right? And that becomes a risk, right? Now, the speed at which these manual processes are improved using technology will determine if these same processes become barriers or enablers to your success. Okay? In 2020, the COVID pandemic forced business owners to leverage technology in order to survive. Okay. Now, the pandemic has undoubtedly changed the landscape of work for businesses of all sizes. But while the past year has seen some of the most significant changes for small businesses, it has also seen some significant challenges for small business. It has also seen some incredible successes thanks to the growing adoption of digital solutions, helping entrepreneurs and SMBs alike continue to grow their businesses, serve their customers, and support their employees. In fact, we know that almost 90% of small businesses transitioned some aspect of their operations to a digital format in 2020. And you'll notice a lot of this is, especially when it came to payment processing, right? Some businesses just would refuse to accept paper money, right? They will say, okay, tap your card here. So we've seen that in the stores. Now the 10% here that were not able to transition part of their business are the ones that we've seen probably have closed. But 90% have done that, have transitioned. We're able to do that transition. Now, there are two process areas where improvements can be made. This is in the administration and in the operation side of your business. Okay, so administrative processes refer to office tasks that support the business. So these are your internal processes, right? These include processes in HR, marketing, or accounting, right? Operations refer to activities that increase the value of the business and earn a profit. Typically, these processes are directly involved in the delivery of a product or service. So you have two sides of your business, the administrative side and the operation side. Processes in administration affect your internal customers, that's your employees, while processes in operations affect your external customers. So as an employer, for example, looking for new hires, if your objective is to attract the brightest young minds who have grown up in the Amazon with the Amazon experience, your internal processes will be expected to provide a similar experience. Otherwise, you may not be able to attract or keep such talent, right? So let's go to the extreme, right? An example, let's say, this is really an extreme example. Let's say your business is not using computers today. You're still using the typewriter. So if you're looking to hire people and they see that you have a lot of manual process, the young ones today who have, sometimes we call them the swipe generation, right? They grew up with smartphones and iPads, right? They're the swipe generation. If they see that there are a lot of manual processes within your organization does not become that attractive to them. Right? You'll miss out on their talent. So where's the low-hanging fruit, right? So as the saying goes, information is power. The use of information determines the success or failure of an endeavor. Use it effectively, and the probability of success increases. Access to the right information in a timely manner, therefore, is crucial, especially in the business environment. Getting ahead of your competitor means making better informed decisions based on the information you have. Businesses are leveraging technology to capture, organize, store, and manage their business information and using it as their competitive edge. So we've all heard about, data mining, right? Big data. So using the information you already have as your competitive advantage. So their goal is to use technology to deliver the best customer experience possible, right? So as a provider of a product or service, you will be benchmarked against, again, this is another one, against the Amazon experience and not against your competitor. So you'll notice internal processes and your processes that affect the operations of your business. Your customers will be comparing that to their experience with Amazon. So it's not so much anymore as competitors will be comparing you, or your customers will be comparing you to your competitors. No, we're all being benchmarked against the Amazon experience, regardless of product or service that we're delivering. So you have the information to grow your business. It's there. It's within your organization. However, how is your information readily available or accessible to those who need it? Is it organized in a manner that is useful? Is it secured? Do you have to chase paper to get to or process your information? So an example is your supplier is following up payment of their invoice, for example. So what steps do you go through, or how long does it take you to get the status of that particular invoice? See, so that experience that the customer is going through, again, like I mentioned, will be compared to their experience in dealing with Amazon. Right? So we need to look at the processes within our organization, whether it's internal or customer facing. So although companies were able to adapt in 2020, reported increased productivity, better engagement with customers, and increased sales as the result of technology investments, there are small and mid-sized businesses still struggling with far too many paper-based processes, outdated workflows, and inefficient document management strategies. That is why we believe there's no better time than now to change for better. Because there's a better way to do the everyday work that keeps your business running. The gap that exists between the way you're doing it now and the way you could be doing it isn't as wide as you think. Now, process automation can sound complicated, and sometimes the underlying technical aspects of it really are, right? But the goal really is to simplify the complex manual processes that consume your day-to-day task. So we let technology manage the process, right? Rather than using valuable human time to keep track of what stage a task is in or where the approval is, digital systems behind the automated process do that work for you. So the digital process, so the process itself, so you let technology manage the heavy lifting. The constraints resulting from remote or distributed work models are pushing entrepreneurs and leaders away from time-consuming, costly, and error-prone workflows. Business functions that touch finance, IT, sales, and even regulatory compliance are shifting at a higher rate than ever to more automated processes that allow workers to focus on more high-value priorities. And according to a recent Ricoh survey, automation is, for the first time, fueling greater excitement among workers for the following benefits: greater speed and flexibility from new technologies, easier and more immediate access to data, less repetitive tasks, automated administrative work, and higher employee morale as they get back their jobs and become more productive. So when we're looking at the process automation, there are different kinds, right? So you'll notice here in the screen here, robotic process automation at the bottom here. So you can actually use a bot, a little app that will do the different tasks within your, for example, within your desktop for you. An example, you're working on an Excel sheet, for example, and you need now to update, let's say, your accounting system. So instead of, reading your Excel sheet and typing the data into your accounting system, for example, you can actually have a bot do that for you. And for example, you're using that information, so you have an application for that comes in, and then you have to update several different systems that are not really connected to each other. You can also have a little robotic app do that for you as well. So those are just some samples of even the simplest process automation. You don't really have to buy, let's say, for example, a big software to do that for you. There are little apps, utility applications that actually can do that for you. Ryan?
Thanks, Duke. So now it becomes a question of where do you start, right? How do you go from the paper-based form you see that's signed with ink on the, I'm not sure what side of the screen is showing for you, but on the left side for me, and on the right side, how do you go to an electronic form that's either filled out on an iPad or on a phone or something like that? So really the question becomes, where do you start? So if you want to move to the next slide, Duke, thank you. So typically what we talk to our clients about is really creating a roadmap. So we find that that's extremely important to kind of create a list of different processes that you think need to be automated within the organization. And then beside that, really kind of start ranking them. And then that's your list. That's your target list of where you go first. And you really want to pick processes that are kind of easier to automate first, but still have, let's call it bang for the buck in terms of what you're investing in that process and what you're going to get out of it in terms of efficiency. So you really, before you start, the first thing you should really do is really kind of make a roadmap, make a list of different processes, and really prioritize them and start attacking it. So in sales and marketing, I'm just going to give you some examples now of some of the things that our clients have successfully automated. So things like the quoting process, things like order fulfillment, things like auto follow-up on either it's a bill that hasn't been paid, or even if when you're managing a product or a project, there's ways now to basically have automated reminders for tasks that are coming due or about to come due or things like that. In accounting, I'd say this space more than anything has seen automation really take hold of the finance processes. Both AP and AR have now become processes that can become highly automated with very minimal intervention. You even have some of the largest corporations that are processing more than 300,000 plus invoices a day now turning to an automated solution that really removes anything from a store level bookkeeper or a back office processing these high volume of invoices. Really, it's down to the exceptions. So accounting in particular has really become a kind of a target market for a lot of our clients to start looking at first. Operations. So if it's releasing purchase orders to vendors or getting additional details for shipping information, things like that. In employee engagement and HR, absolutely. There's the onboarding process that can be automated. There's employee record filing that can be automated. There's management of benefits paperwork that can be automated. So those are just some of them. That's another area that there have been a lot of solutions. Ricoh included has developed a lot of solutions for this space particularly. So next slide, dude. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of give you a quick use case here. So we have a client that really relied heavily on paper envelopes coming into the organization, and some of these were invoices, some of these were just correspondence. So they had a real challenge with all this information coming into the organization and knowing where to store it. So they didn't really have a good method of kind of sorting by department, and that became an extremely tedious process. Very slow processing time for sales orders as they were coming in through the same process as well for some of the manual paperwork. And it was just a very complicated and inefficient process for the team. And really what their issue was is basically taking data from incoming documents from clients and then getting that into a system, kind of very similar to the use case that Duke mentioned earlier in his presentation when he was talking about RPA. So the results is implementing what this client did is that they implemented a digital sales order process. They moved to more of like an online form for completing a sales order. So when that comes in, the form has a bunch of workflows in the background to basically verify that the package is complete, and then kicks off a bunch of different workflows. For invoices, they implemented a solution that did automated extraction for all of the invoices. And it also has a check in it to ensure that they're not double paying the same invoice, and as well as some other business rules that we now built into an automated process. We find with those type of AP solutions specifically, a lot of the time, a lot of the business rules are actually maintained by the individuals doing that work. Sometimes they've been doing it for 10, 15 years. And when they move on, some of those processes move on with them. So it's a little challenging, right? Whereas if you implement an automated solution like this, you take your business rules and your business processes, and now the solution takes care of it, and the solution becomes an audit trail so that you can see that that process was followed with a particular invoice. They streamlined the approval process. So gone were the days of an invoice coming into the mailroom or coming in just to the receptionist or whoever, them opening it, scanning it, maybe sending it to Duke via email saying, hey, can you please approve? So those days are gone. The invoice comes in, goes into the system, an automated email goes out, Duke clicks the link, up pops the invoice, and he clicks the approve button if he approves it or rejects it, depending on the day. And so that streamlined their AP process and sped up that process, which allowed them to pay their vendors more accurately and on time. And then immediate improvement with customer service as well, because they were processing orders faster. And they also improved their vendor relationships too, because they had less vendors complaining that they weren't being paid accurately. So yeah, that's one of our smaller sized clients, and that's kind of just a very high level use case of how they implemented some simple solutions. So a simple invoice processing solution and a simple digital form, and they've now used digital forms kind of across the organization to automate a lot of other processes. So yeah, and I guess the one thing I will mention here with this client is it's a lot of our clients, when they think about automation, they think about that front end piece with the client. So they think about, how can I engage with my client in a digital form, in a digital manner, and that's what they tackle first. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, they forget about the back end process. So that back end process is extremely important in when you're developing these solutions and kind of road mapping where you're going to go with your future process. So you can start with the front end, that's not a problem, but you need to build a front end that will enable the back end. So you can get rid of that manual back end work in the process as well. So you're actually delivering on speeding up a sales order process or something like that, like this client was able to do. So that's just one tidbit of information. So next slide, Duke, and I think we're just going to play a quick video. So this is a high-level overview of a small business AP solution or invoice processing solution that Ricoh has that you may be interested in. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long. Oh, Duke, I think you need to share your audio.
Can you hear the video? Did you? I paused it a little bit.
Did you share audio when you shared your screen?
Good question.
You have to do that in Zoom.
Okay.
Zoom is just for everyone. Zoom is a little new to us. We typically use Teams at Ricoh, so that's why we're having all these challenges.
Yeah, so I'm looking for the share button. Oh dear.
There should be a little tab you click off. Yeah, you need to stop sharing your screen, Duke, and then reshare it with the audio.
Okay, so let me try that again. So I did that. Tell me to see it.
By error-prone manual data entry.
There we go.
Or difficulty accessing files.
Okay, let me start it again.
Thanks, Duke.
Accounts payable is an essential function of any business. When these processes are slowed down by error-prone manual data entry or difficulty accessing files, your entire business is affected. By automating data entry, simplifying how people access and process documents, and creating better visibility into the entire process, Ricoh can help streamline and even accelerate your accounts payable processes. Let's show you how this works using an invoice as an example. The approval process can get especially complicated. What we will show you is a simplified process, which starts with an intelligent capture component that saves you time and improves accuracy. We will finish setup with a dynamic approval process that allows documents to be easily routed to key stakeholders, even on an ad hoc basis, and provides better visibility into the entire process. First, log into your system by opening up your favorite browser and going to the proper web address to log in. Authenticating into the system allows for the proper permissions to be applied, so you only see what you are allowed to see. An invoice needs to be scanned, imported into a tray to be ready to be processed. All of the highlighted items will be extracted automatically by the intelligent indexing system. In this example, Sally, the AP clerk processor, has logged in and sees the invoice that is ready to be stored. Select the Store button to move forward. You can immediately see on the left-hand side what has been captured automatically for the index fields provided. This saves many keystrokes as the user doesn't have to key in the information. Once the user has verified that all information is correct, to commit the document and data into the file cabinet, select Store. Now the AP Clerk processor can see that she has a new item in her Lists tab as a notification pops up in red. When she clicks into the Lists tab, the notification turns yellow to indicate that she has read it, and the item that was just stored is located under the New Task List. Sally can select and use the route stamp to send this item to the next appropriate person in the process. She can choose the proper person from the pick list dropdown, or just start typing the person's name and the system will suggest those that are close. A stamp with a date and time note is applied that allows someone to see quickly who routed the item to whom. Then the document leaves Sally's queue and moves into Bob's. Bob gets an email notification that provides a link to his task list. He can then log into his view to see what he must process. When Bob logs in as an approver, he can see anything that needs his review in the My Approval Needed task list. In this case, the newest items show up on the top. Bob can either approve or reject the item at this point. When he clicks Approve, he can choose to route the item to another individual for another level of approval or leave it blank to end the process. He could choose to route the item to another person ad hoc, and that item would then show up in their My Approval Needed task list. In this case, there is no other approval needed, so Bob clicks Set and the item is removed from his queue. Now, let's log in back to Sally's view and see how this recent approval affects her task list. When Sally logs back in, she can see in the Approved task list that she has something to do. She can look to see what has been approved, go into her payment system, and enter the appropriate information. She can then use the Entered stamp. The Entered stamp indicates that she has taken care of her part in the process, and now the document is removed from the queue. This item has been completely approved and paid. Alternatively, instead of using the Entered stamp, Sally could use a Hold stamp that would allow her to enter a reason for a hold. The item would then show up in the Hold task list with the reason displayed with the Hold stamp on the document. Sally can easily search on any of the index fields that have been created to find the proper documentation associated with that data. In this case, Sally just searched for everything in Entered status for today. When Sally has found the information she wanted, such as this invoice, she can click on the Related Documents link to bring up the appropriate documents in the system that correlate with this document, like a purchase order or bill of lading. Because Sally has the proper permissions, she can take the data from the result list here and export to an Excel file. Ad hoc reporting such as this is easy with this solution and provides better visibility at any step in the process. Streamline and digitize workflows with Ricoh's document management and workflow solutions to save your company time and money.
Great. Let's go to the next slide. And then after this, we have some time for questions if anyone has any. But yeah, so this is just another use case for one of our clients. They're a credit union, a smaller credit union, only have 55 employees. Their challenges were again very similar. They had a lot of wasted time and effort into pre-filling forms and dealing with manual forms in the organization, both for customers buying things and doing things internally. They had a lot of paper-based forms that that really initiated processes internally that were manual. Inconsistent experiences, again, because when you're dealing with paper, sometimes maybe it gets dropped off on the wrong desk, or just doesn't get picked up, or it's delayed in the mail for whatever reason. So very inconsistent experience in terms of new account setup or things like that. Very manual in-person client experiences were required. Thankfully, this customer automated a lot of the solutions well before COVID came. Had they not, they would have been in a very difficult situation, and they really wouldn't have been set up to manage what COVID kind of made us do. And kind of overnight, they were able to flip the switch and kind of carry on doing what they were doing because of the work they'd done. So the mortgage renewal process was very timely for them. One of the big things for them was that they had a team that was basically going through mortgage renewal documents, and they were the risk team, and they'd start processing the package, and then it'd get halfway through and specific documents would be missing from this package. And now this risk team had spent maybe half an hour going through this renewal, and it wasn't even complete. So the whole process needed to stop, go back to the advisor needs to go back to the client, get the necessary documentation, and then the process start all over again, right? So there was a lot of inconsistencies and different processes going on within the credit union. So the first thing they did was implemented the use of electronic forms. And those are both internal and external forms. They have forms that are connected to databases, so they auto-populate information based on customers' responses and things like that. They got the renewal time down to 30 minutes or less, which is quite impressive compared to with the days that they were, or weeks potentially, that they were operating on before. Electronic renewal process. Now they don't require an in-person meeting to get that done. And they've also now implemented a DocuSign solution as well that has been implemented into all of their forms. So Ricoh, that's another offering Ricoh brings to the marketplace as well, as electronic signature. And now all of their products are basically signed electronically. They've now moved to that model, and there's nothing signed with ink anymore. Everything is now standardized on the new digital signature or DocuSign platform that Ricoh has implemented and embedded into these digital forms. Yeah. So any questions to you can move on to the next slide, Duke, but are there any questions from the team today before we kind of wrap up here? Okay. Well then, so I'll just close out on the last slide. So really some just takeaways, kind of high level points of things to think about. So when you're thinking about automation, evaluate the type of information you need to collect from the process in order to automate, right? So really have a sound understanding again of what that back end requires to process that incoming form. That's extremely important, and we can't talk about that enough. We've been into multiple situations where customers are really focused on that front end process with their client, and they really forget about the back end, and that's a big challenge. And I think, and you're not alone. Like even larger corporations stumble here, right? Like if you think about some of the banks that are out there today, all of us are very used to using our banking apps on our phone and things like that, and they work great. But the reality is the banks are still doing a lot of manual processes in the background to make what magic happens on the app happen. There's a lot of manual back-end processes going on there to facilitate that. So it's not just small business that forgets that. It's everyone. So it's extremely important to really understand what that back end is, understand what data is required, and to collect that data upfront in that process. Start small. This is not easy, but this is something you really need to do. Like it's extremely important to not take too big of a bite when you're first getting started with automation. You don't want to boil the ocean. You want to pick something that's small, that you think you can be successful with, that you'll see traction within the organization. People will enjoy the process. They will start talking about how great it is, and then you'll get more adoption. So starting small is extremely important. Build out what the ideal workflow looks like. So just because there's a process today does not mean you need to keep that same process tomorrow in an automated fashion. Automating a broken process puts you no further ahead. So you really need to look at the process first and understand how you can simplify that process, scale back that process in terms of number of touch points, number of process steps in it, and then work towards automating that. That's the best way to do it. That's the best practice. You probably all heard that before. And I guess the fourth is leverage pre-built forms, leverage pre-built solutions. There's a lot of solutions out there in the marketplace today that offer pre-packaged workflows or pre-packaged offerings. Ricoh has them as well that if you want more information on, you can visit us on Changemakers, and you can see some other success stories and different packages we have. We have packages that are scaled right down to the small to medium-sized business. So we are absolutely not a kind of Fortune 500 or nothing organization in terms of services. Our services are designed to support the likes of the large enterprises, the likes of small business, medium-sized business, large business. We have solutions that scale from like for invoices, for example, we have solutions that scale from processing 300,000 plus a month down to maybe 500 in a month or 100 in a month or maybe 50 in a month. Like we have solutions that can fit your specific business need. And kind of on the pre-built piece, Ricoh's stance there is it's best to start with kind of a foundation of a pre-built solution and then find a way to tailor that solution to your needs. You don't want to take something and customize it and build it specifically for your business. It's going to cost you too much. You want to find something that's pre-built, so you're still getting that cost advantage there, and then find a way to basically tailor the business process to fit it, or allow Ricoh to tailor the solution to fit your unique business challenges. So yeah, that's all I have today. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you want to, yeah, there we go. There's the last slide. And then again, Changemakers, as I mentioned, it's ricohchangemakers.ca. You can find lots of great information on there. Thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you, everyone.